if you guys are like a beginner lifter, I would totally recommend stay off the path of cutting at all. Like no cutting whatsoever. Cause for your first few years, so like 3, 4 years, totally forget about cutting for the summer or for like a beach day that's coming up or for a vacation. Because what cutting essentially is the months leading up to the final cut result, like the leanness that you desire, the months leading up to it are total wasted months, right? So like especially as a teenager, when you're like your hormones are high, it's the easiest years of your life to build muscle, and you got newbie gains in your first couple of years of lifting. Wasting months on cutting, on getting leaner, because as you're getting leaner, it's very, very inefficient to also kind of try and compound muscle on top of that while you're trying to lose fat. So it's seriously just a huge waste of time and waste of effort as well to try and cut while you're still semi young or semi new into lifting. And the reason why I kind of bring this up is because recently I've seen like a huge surge in virality of these videos saying like, oh, I'm gonna cut in my first year. Like people saying that they're gonna go on a summer, they're gonna go on a winter bulk, and then like the whole idea of the winter bulk and then the summer cut, and then like that being like some kind of like cycle that people go through. I find it kind of stupid because you need a couple years foundational uh, working out first and dieting first, bulking, putting on muscle, putting on size, and of course, naturally putting on a little bit of fat to get that desired shredded look at the end of your journey, right? To kind of cycle that year after year, and also like I've seen people start talking about like main gaining, which I can't imagine like how little progress I would have made by now if I ever listened to these kind of people, to be honest. Because main gaining, it's the stupidest idea ever. It's to build muscle while losing fat, and it's to kind of like stay at a low body fat percentage while you simultaneously put on muscle, which is just entirely inefficient. I understand why these content creators and these influencers are saying you should do this because it's like really eye catching. It's like a very attractive idea to be able to lose fat or stay at a low body fat percentage and put on muscle, but it's just not possible and it's not realistic, right? If you are serious about the gym, you're serious about making some really remarkable progress for yourself, you are going to need to go through a couple years of bulking. I know like a lot of people really don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. And to be honest, guys, bulking really isn't that bad. I'm gonna put a picture of me like my first like a month after I started lifting or 2 months after I started lifting. And right now I'm gonna put a picture up on the screen of me exactly 1 year after that picture was taken. So that just goes to show, like, if you're like, I had a lot of things going wrong. You know what I mean? My first year of lifting, there was a lot that I didn't know. There was a lot of misinformation I was consuming. There was a lot of things I didn't have right. But even with all those factors, really the only thing I had was consistency, and I was working out of my basement. I had nothing going for me, really. I had like the shittiest equipment ever. I had a bench that I couldn't even make an incline, and that was the progress I was able to do in just 1 year. That's just the power that goes to show, you know, what newbie gains, what you're capable of doing with newbie gains in your first year. Forget about your first few years, right? Um, and I remember like, and I'm lean in that picture too. Like I was bulking pretty hard, but you could still see that like because I was lean bulking and I was really consistent with my diet, that I really didn't put on much weight. Well, I put on a lot of weight. I put on like I think like 40, 50 pounds in my first year, but or no, 30, 40 pounds, not 50. Um, but you can see that I didn't put on a lot of fat, and that's exactly what you guys got to be going for. If you guys are lean bulking the correct way, you're not eating like shit, you're not eating fatty foods, you're not eating fried foods like Burger King, McDonald's, you're not eating like really high processed food and like just like easy to understand like this stuff is garbage, this stuff's not. If you're not eating the garbage, then you're gonna be fine. You're not gonna put on that much fat, and if you're not eating in like a 1,000 calorie surplus, then you're not gonna put on any real noticeable amount of fat. It's gonna be like a very thin layer of fat. It's not gonna be noticeable. It's not gonna look bad at all. You're still gonna look amazing in t-shirts, compression shirts, tank tops, amazing in sweatshirts. It's just you won't have shredded abs when you take your shirt off, and that's really not that big of a deal. I feel like people like they care too much about like what body fat percentage they're at, but trust me, guys, it's really not that big of a deal. Just try not to even think about cutting right now. Just focus on your bulk. Make sure you're doing it the right way. If you're doing it the right way, it's gonna feel like almost like it's a cut because you'll be lean bulking. You won't be putting on any fat. You'll just be putting on strength like crazy, muscle like crazy, and you're gonna be looking way better.